Viewers, drop your location and the time you're watching. Let's see how far this story travels tonight. Because in one small cul-de-sac, midnight wasn't just another hour on the clock. It was the exact minute a predator thought she was hunting and instead stepped into a trap set by grief, patience, and a father's determination. The house is still the kind of stillness only after midnight brings. David sits in his old leather chair, laptop open but ignored, because he's not scrolling memes or checking the latest debate about whether cats recognize their own reflections. Historians still argue whether cats even recognize their owners. His 10-year-old Jake sleeps in his room, sneakers by the door, mustard camp shirt bunched at his chin. This is David's watch, the one he's kept ever since Sarah, his wife, passed 2 years earlier. Silence used to feel peaceful. Now it's something he defends. Every creak mapped, every sensor tested, the whole house wired tighter than a conspiracy forum on a Friday night. At 2:14, his wrist buzzes. Just one tiny vibration, not enough to wake a normal dad. But David isn't normal anymore. The code reads LNDW1, laundry window breach, not a glitch. He runs diagnostics religiously at 10 o'clock. This is real. His body reacts with that practiced economy grief, teaches laptop close silently, bare feet, gliding across cool wood. Sarah would have hated what he'd turned their sunny house into, steel shutters hidden in the walls, cameras and smoke detectors, secondary locks on every frame. She loved open windows, not fortresses. But she never had to watch Jake get targeted with snide whispers or see a stack of HOA violation notices thicken like an overdue library book. The culprit is no mystery. Karen Blackman, the ex-cop who reinvented herself as HOA president, patrolling the suburb like she's a sheriff in a western. Nobody asked for. She started with grass too long by half an inch, then the basketball hoop 2 inches too close to the sidewalk. After Sarah's death, the notices escalated: garden a mess, swing set illegal, mailbox color unsanctioned. Every scrap of paper another small cruelty. David tried explaining at a board meeting that he was doing his best raising his son alone. Karen looked at him with the detached glare of someone convinced rules matter more than people. Personal problems aren't board concerns, she'd said. Cold words that festered. Tonight, David doesn't call the cops. He knows what they'll say: civil matter. That phrase is suburban code for good luck, pal. So he moves through the house like a ghost, tapping Jake's door with 2 soft knocks, their code. From inside, Jake hits the panic pad, locks his door, and hides in the closet with his walkie. They drilled for this every Sunday. He hated the game, but he knew why, and now the game is real. On the tablet feed, David watches her crawl through the laundry window. White blouse, dark jeans, flashlight in one hand, zip ties in the other. Slow as a cat, convinced the counter belongs to it. Karen thinks she's invisible. Instead, she's glowing under lenses wired to an independent power grid, every second stamped and stored. Proof, not panic. Tonight, the predator isn't the one in control. Tonight, the trap is closing. The tablet hums softly in David's hand, its screen painting the world in gray lowlight. He whispers for the mic, timestamp LNDW1, intruder confirmed. Calm, precise, the opposite of adrenaline. He knows adrenaline makes you sloppy. Karen doesn't know that lesson. She thinks she's staging a midnight inspection, zip ties dangling like she's preparing a craft project for Kidnappers Anonymous. Somewhere, anthropologists still argue whether power corrupts slowly or all at once. Watching Karen slide into his laundry room, David votes for all at once. She moves with ex-cop arrogance, not stealth. A lockpick kit appears from her pocket, tumblers clicking like a metronome. That sound hits David like confirmation. This wasn't impulse, it was planned. He whispers at the camera. She's done this before, and the hallway floorboards seem to hold their breath. Jake's walkie clicks once inside his room. Still good, still hidden. David's chest loosens just enough to keep focus. Karen pops the lock flashlight, slicing across the tidy counters. She freezes when a voice cuts through the dark. "That's far enough, Karen." David doesn't shout. He speaks the way an accountant tells you the receipt doesn't lie. She jerks upright, flashlight beam flaring wildly. "Who's there?" she snaps, trying for authority. "David Mercer. This is my house. And you're trespassing." She tries the cop routine, a water leak emergency inspection authority badge, invisible but implied, at 2:16 in the morning, with lockpicks and zip ties. Even an ostrich would lift its head at that logic. She threatens obstruction. He counters burglary. It's tennis, except every serve she lobs ricochets back with the weight of law. Then David presses the red square on his tablet. A low hum vibrates the house's bones. Steel shutters slam down one after another, thump, 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 sealing every window in blackness. The predator is boxed. Her flashlight beam darts, finds only steel where glass once shone. A gasp rips from her throat. David's lips barely twitch. He built this fortress for this very moment. The fog system hisses next, white clouds rolling down like stage smoke in a rock concert nobody bought tickets to. Karen coughs, not from poison. It's harmless glycol vapor, but from shock, blinded by her own flashlight scattering into the mist. She gropes for the doorknob she picked minutes earlier, smearing invisible UV dye all over her hands. It'll glow under blacklight like neon graffiti on her guilt, evidence that clings tighter than a bad 90s ringtone. David keeps his position, camera steady, documenting every stumble, every curse. "Karen, you are contained and recorded. Do not escalate," he warns. She ignores him, crashes into furniture, knocks over a mixing bowl that skitters across tile. He logs it aloud for the mic time, impact witness ready. Outside, neighbors stir. A dog barks. Porch lights blink on like dominoes down the street. The siren follows 10 seconds of deafening shriek, shattering suburban silence, ensuring nobody can say they slept through this. Phones lift. Windows crack open. Witnesses assemble. By the time David retracts the front shutter, the stage is set. Neighbors in robes and slippers cluster, cameras raised, curiosity sharpened into disbelief. And in the fog behind him, their tyrant stands exposed, caught not by rumor, not by gossip, but by proof. Karen's authority doesn't just wobble, it crumbles. The porch scene is almost theatrical, neighbors in bathrobes, phones raised like tiny red-eyed witnesses, the fog glowing behind David, as if the house itself is exhaling truth. Freddie from next door mutters, "Not a raccoon this time, huh?" Mrs. Chen jokes about charging admission, and someone whispers that historians still argue whether communities unite faster under threat or laughter. Tonight it looks like both. David lifts his camera, calm as ever. That is Karen Blackman, HOA president. She broke into my home through the laundry window at 2:14. She picked a lock. She carried zip ties. And she's recorded. Gasps ripple like wind across tall grass. Karen tries to snarl it down, claims it was an inspection, claims he lured her. But when Mrs. Rodriguez flicks a pocket blacklight and Karen's hands blaze purple, the last shred of her lie dissolves. Phones catch it all. David doesn't need to convince anyone. The evidence does the talking. State troopers arrive with clean sirens. They cuff her under the curtain, body cams rolling while the local officer shrugs in quiet relief. Karen spits threats, but the glow on her hands says everything. Neighbors who once endured her notices in silence now speak. Mr. Henderson recalls her threat to lean his house. Mrs. Rodriguez recalls the cousin she tried to intimidate. One by one, voices rise. The tyrant is no longer feared. She is history in the making. Days later, in the packed clubhouse, David simply rolls the footage on a projector. Every shutter thump, every fog-filled stumble, every calm reassurance to his son projected huge behind the nervous board. Gasps, then testimony, then fury. The board votes unanimously. Karen stripped of power, every bogus fine voided, apologies promised. Someone jokes about naming a park after Jake, and for once laughter isn't nervous, it's healing. The evidence from her storage unit seals it. Maps of backyards, files on families' lockpick kits, fake inspection badges, her empire of intimidation laid bare. Faced with this mountain, Karen pleads guilty. She vanishes into prison walls, her shadow lifted off the neighborhood like morning fog. The HOA is rebuilt on respect, not fear. Rules simplified, neighbors empowered, decency restored. David still sits some nights in his leather chair, but the tablet rests idle. The shutters are bolted open. The fog machine is retired. Jake sleeps with his door unlocked, his dreams finally unbothered. And when David hears laughter in the backyard, sees sunlight pour through wide-open windows, he knows Sarah would approve. He no longer wonders how far a man must go to defend his family. He knows, far enough but never into darkness. Proof, not panic. Truth, not tyranny. The porch light glows each night, but it's no longer a warning. It's a welcome. The neighborhood breathes easy. And upstairs a boy dreams simple, harmless dreams, the sound of safety echoing in every quiet corner of home. The night quiets not with tension but with release. Where once steel shutters clamped down and alarms wailed, now crickets sing and wind chimes answer small reminders that ordinary sounds can be beautiful again. David's chair no longer feels like a sentry post. It's simply a place to sit, sip tea, and watch porch lights twinkle like constellations along the street. The house is softened too. Curtains hang loose where once they concealed lenses. Sunlight wanders across the kitchen floor, and Jake's laughter filters down the hall as if the walls themselves are lighter. The community is different now, stronger, reshaped by the strange theater of that night. Neighbors who once nodded stiffly at mailboxes now share coffee, watch each other's kids, and wave with genuine warmth. There's a shared relief in knowing the chapter of intimidation has closed, and what remains is a neighborhood that can breathe without checking over its shoulder. For David, the silence carries a new meaning. It isn't the silence of grief or vigilance. It's the silence after resolution, like the hush in a theater when the curtain has fallen and the lights rise slowly. It's the sound of healing, of trust, rebuilt piece by piece. He thinks of Sarah often, and in the softest hours he feels her presence, not in the steel he installed, but in the laughter he preserved. She would have wanted sunlight, laughter, and safety, and that is what remains. The house is no longer a fortress. It's a home. So the story rests here with porch lights glowing, a father at peace, a boy safe in his bed, and a neighborhood learning how to be whole again. If you're listening tonight, let the calm settle on you too. The danger has passed. The quiet is safe. Sleep well.